What's going on? It's Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake, here with DFSArmy, and I'm here to do another NBA First Look podcast for Monday, February 1st, 2021. We got a big 10-game slate tonight. Starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So lots of plays, lots of injury news to get into. And again, we'll build a little sample lineup on DraftKings, but I will talk about FanDuel pricing as well as we go through things. And if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button if you like what you see. And let's just continue to dominate some basketball. Let's jump in right into this. First game on tap, we have Charlotte at Miami. Miami favored by 6.5, over under of 218. Lots of news on the Miami side. They're just not fully healthy yet. The big one though is Butler is not on the injury report, so we don't have Butler on the injury report, so he should play. But on the Miami side, Iguodala is probable. Tyler Hero is questionable. Dragic is questionable. Avery Bradley is questionable. Gabe Vincent is probable. So again, first game on the slate, so we should kind of know what's going on. But the big news again is Dragic and Hero. If they both sit out, it's going to be a ton of Butler. And he's probably going to be a cash staple if both those guys are out. If we see Tyler Hero play, he's 7,100 on DraftKings, 6,500 on FanDuel. I prefer him over on FanDuel. But again, it's really hard to swallow here. When Butler comes back, he's just going to soak up a lot of that usage. So I don't like the price on DraftKings very much here. Over on Dragic at 6,400 on DraftKings, 5,800 on FanDuel. I would be fine to play him on both sites if he came back. And even if we had Hero and Butler there, I think he's priced down enough. He's been about a 1 fantasy point per minute for the season, 26% usage, averaging about 27 minutes. So if he comes back and puts 27 minutes up, I think there's a little bit of meat left on that bone on both of them. But it's a hard situation to read until we get that. Bam at 9,400 on DraftKings, 9,100 at FanDuel. I think that's a little expensive, but Charlotte does bleed points to guys like Bam here. 1.25 fantasy points for the minute. Only averaging around 33 minutes for the season, but 25% usage rate. I think it's a little too expensive, and on a slate this large, I don't think we need to go here. Butler 8,400 on DraftKings, 8,700 on FanDuel. He's not 7,300 on DraftKings like he was a couple slates ago when he first came back. So definitely no must plays on this team here. We really just need that news when it comes to Hero and Dragic. Duncan Robinson's at 4,400 on FanDuel. 5,700 on DraftKings is a definitely fade for me, but that's a pretty cheap price on FanDuel. But really just need the injury news on this. So again, stick around. We'll have all that stuff at DFSArmy for you VIP members as the slate breaks and let you know what's going on here. On the Charlotte side, excuse me, Terry Rozier is questionable. That's the big news here. So again, going against Miami where they're getting kind of healthy and getting their best defender and Butler back, it's kind of hard to trust these guys. They got 106 implied team total here. Gordon Hayward is still too cheap, though. 7,500 on DraftKings, 7,600 on FanDuel, averaging 36 minutes a game, 1.08 fantasy points per minute, 25% usage rate. I think he's a guy that's interesting. And again, if Rozier's out, LaMelo Ball put up a monster game last game. Saw 31 minutes, put up 55 fantasy points, 27, 9, and 5 with 4 steals. So if Rozier's out, we should see more ball here. And 6,300 on FanDuel is really, really cheap if we can expect over 30 minutes. So I have a lot of love for LaMelo Ball here. I'm going to throw him in this lineup real quick. And again, this is just considering if Rozier is out and we would get more ball here. So I'm going to throw him in this lineup as we're going through things. Like I said, Hayward is playable at that price, 7,500 and 7,600. But I would take the discount a little bit and come down to LaMelo Ball. Devontae Graham might see a few more shots. He's 5,500 on FanDuel, which is a good price on him. I like that. Over here on DraftKings, he's 6,400. I think I prefer that price over on FanDuel than I do on DraftKings. I would much rather just play Ball for 100 more with his upside. And then Cody Zeller, 5,300 on DraftKings, 5,200 on FanDuel. His minutes are up to the 30s now. Put up 37, 24, 37. I don't mind him here. I don't think it's a great matchup though. Bigs, against Miami, Bam's going to suck up a lot of those rebounds. I don't think he's a must play, but on FanDuel at 5,200, if we don't have any cheap centers on here, that might be a way to go to build your lineups. Over on DraftKings 5,300, I think he's squarely in play. We just kind of have to get a feel of how the slate's going to break out. But the main guy for me is LaMelo Ball here at that price, considering Rozier's out. And I think you could still play him if Rozier plays, but just know that it's going to be way more risky for that. But I think I'm going to put Cody Zeller in this lineup as well, just because 5,300 seems fair and there is upside there. So we'll shove him in this lineup. Again, it's going to be Ball and Zeller as the two plays on DraftKings for me here. Let's move on to the next game here, where we have the Lakers at Atlanta. Lakers favored by 5, 218.5 over under. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are both questionable. On the Atlanta side, Rondo is probable. Trae Young is probable. DeAndre Hunter is out. So with Hunter out, we should see some more Reddish and Herter. That's the big news. Again, this line feels a little light. It seems like maybe one of the bigs will sit out here. I don't know. Lakers by 5 against Atlanta. That doesn't seem right. That almost feels like maybe one of AD and LeBron are going to sit. But again, I'm just trying to read the tea leaves here, and it just doesn't seem right. Again, on the Lakers side, over here on DraftKings, LeBron James 10-2, Anthony Davis 9-8, on FanDuel 10-4 and 10-3. So they've got priced up a little bit, but still relatively cheap. If one of them does sit, we just automatically play the other one. I mean, that's just how it goes here. And if they both do play, not a whole lot, again, I like on the slate. Again, on an Atlanta team where I think you can get to the hoop a little bit, I do like Dennis Schroeder at 5,600 and 5,300 on FanDuel. I think that's a fair price for him. 27, 20, 24. He's good against teams that he can get to the rim, because that's how he gets his points. He doesn't get points from shooting. But again, I would have a lot of love for him if one of AD or LeBron is out. But in tournaments, I don't mind looking at him as a piece here. But other than that, I think this is just kind of a sit and wait approach. It's one of the first games of the night, so we'll know. But again, that line at 5 just seems a little fishy for me. Why are the Lakers only favored by 5 against Atlanta? But let's move around the Atlanta side of the ball. Again, like I said, Trae Young is probable here. Rondo's probable. Hunter is out. So that's the big news here. Trae Young, 9,300 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he is 10-4, so that's a little pricey for me. Going up against the Lakers, I have no interest in that at all. Cam Reddish, 4,600 on FanDuel. He is priced at 4,800 on DraftKings. I think that that's a good price for him, even though the matchup's not great. With no Hunter, he's going to see more time. So if we get Cam Reddish in, mid 30 minutes here, there is upside. Again, the matchup is not great. But, you give me 30 minutes of Cam Reddish. He's a 0.80 fantasy points per minute. If he plays 33 minutes, he could get there at that price. So probably prefer him more on FanDuel than DraftKings. But at 4,800, it's not a horrible play. And I think that's where I'm looking at going. I don't want Clint Capella at 8,800 on FanDuel or 8,800 on DraftKings. Not against the Lakers. I think that's a stay away spot. John Collins, 7,300. On both sides. On a slate this big, I don't think I need to go up against the Lakers here. But for me, I think it's just Reddish, and more so on FanDuel than DraftKings. The next game let's dive into is New York Knicks at Chicago. Chicago favored by 4, 218.5 over under in this game. On the Knicks side, injury news wise, Nerlens Noel is questionable. He was out last game. And Otto Porter is questionable on the Chicago side. We could tear up the Bulls when it comes to the front court. The Bulls front court is not very good. So Julius Randle at 9,200 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he is priced up to 8,800. So a great play, I think, on FanDuel against a really bad Bulls front court here. I don't mind that at all. A little bit pricey on DraftKings. Not sure. I really want to get into that. RJ Barrett at 6,400 on FanDuel, 6,700 on DraftKings. There's definitely meat left on the bone there. Mitch Robinson at 5,200 on DraftKings, 5,300 on FanDuel. If Noel is out, I would like Mitrov even a little bit more. I think we will see more time out of him. And again, the Bulls front court is really bad. I think we can attack him there. And he's been in 0.92 fantasy points per minute. If he gets 30 minutes at that price, I think he's squarely in play here. And then other than that, it's just I don't get too excited about all these other guys. You're basically throwing darts at any of these guards. Bullock back, you got Alec Burks, Peyton, Rivers, Quigley. I think you're just throwing darts at any of these guys because they all could see mid to low 20s. And again, on a slate this large, I'm trying to find value I want to build around, and I don't think it is the Knicks value. Heading over here on the Chicago side, like I said, we don't have any, or I'm saying Porter is questionable. We know Wendell Carter Jr. is out. He's been out a while. The guy that stepped up and has played really well, and he's still fairly priced over on FanDuel, is Thad Young. 5,100 on FanDuel, 5,700 on DraftKings. Had a monster game against Portland, put up 41. But over his last two, 41 and 43, he doesn't start. He comes off the bench, but he's still playing 30 minutes. Just gets really after it, really almost had a triple-double, 2 points away from it against Portland. But he's a guy you got to consider, especially over on FanDuel at 5,100. If he gets 30 minutes here, we could even see more minutes if Porter's out. Maybe he plays some more minutes here at the 4, and they play Patrick Williams more at the 3. Lauri Markkanen too, she gets more minutes. 6,700 on DraftKings, or 6,700 on FanDuel, 6,800 on DraftKings. I think he's in play as well if his 3 balls going down. 42, 28, 23, and 30. Again, I think I would need Porter to be out, so it's just a few more shots for Markkanen and Young. Because I think Markkanen is priced up towards his ceiling. So there's not a ton of meat left on the bone there. But Thad Young is interesting. Kobe White, 6,600 on DraftKings, $6K on FanDuel. Like that price on FanDuel. Again, another one of those guys that needs his shot to fall to get going. I think he's a little priced towards his ceiling on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, a $6K. I do like that price tag on him. Zach LaVine is always going to be a tournament play. 9K on FanDuel, 9K on DraftKings, but not a cash consideration. Nobody I'm going to put in this lineup. He's a 1.20 fantasy point per minute, averaging about 36 minutes a game, 30% usage rate, so leads the team a ton of usage. It was weird last game against Portland. He was deferring a lot and passing a lot, so we didn't really see him live up, I think, to his potential. He kind of got going in the second half and it put up 44 fantasy points, but he only shot the ball 12 times, which is rare for him. Usually he's putting up around 20 shots, but put 26, 4, and 7. He's really efficient in those shots, shot 75% from the field. But I want to see him be more aggressive and take over that team. And I think with Lauri back, some of those shots maybe on certain days might be down a little bit because it's another shooter there. But if Porter's out, there should be more shots to go around. Tournament option for me on this slate. Head on over to Minnesota at Cleveland. This game is sitting at a 219 over under. Cleveland favored by 4.5. On the Minnesota side, Karl Anthony Towns is questionable. Jared Culver is out. Hernan Gomez is questionable as well. Naz Reid is questionable. And then again, same thing on Cleveland. Deladova and Love, they've been out for a long time. On Minnesota side, if Cat plays 9,800, I don't think that they're going to push his minutes here heavily if he does play. So it would be hard to play any Cat here. I don't think he's going to play. So I wouldn't consider him regardless. The big one here is Naz Reid, though. If he did sit as well, he's 5,800 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he's 6,300. I don't think we need to go there. Cleveland's on a back-to-back. Vanderbilt at 5,500. I'm interested there on FanDuel. On DraftKings at 5,500, I do have a little interest there, but not super excited to play him. It is Cleveland, but again, on a slate this large, I don't think we have to go there. D'Angelo Russell, again, they're on a back-to-back 3 and 4 as well. If he did play, 7K over on FanDuel is too cheap. 7,100. 7K on DraftKings, 7,100 on FanDuel. I'd have no problem going to him. He's got a big ceiling going up against Cleveland, so I'm going to throw him in this lineup real quick. He might get dumped later, but 7K just seems way too cheap here. Ed Davis will get the start at center at 3,800 on DraftKings, 3,800 on FanDuel. Again, nobody that has a true ceiling, so I don't really like there. With Rubio back in the fold, playing around 20 minutes. Again, Saunders just kind of screws this whole team up. Everyone seems to get 20 minutes except a couple guys in Russell and Beasley. So don't love the price on Edwards, but 41, 25, 40, and 21, there's ceiling out of him. He's just one of those guys that just the minutes, if he can get 30, 29, 32 minutes, and I can trust Saunders, 4,800 on FanDuel, I like that tag on it. 5,600 at DraftKings is fair. I think he's playable, but you're trusting a coach that I don't believe in to play a guy like that, a rookie like that. So just tournaments only here. Over on the Cleveland side, again, these guys are on a back-to-back 3 and 4 as well. So a lot of these guys kind of have tired legs here. Drummond, 8,600 on DraftKings, 8,800 on FanDuel. Played 33 minutes, put up 62 fantasy points. Minnesota's horrible in the front court. If his minutes were going to be up like this and we could trust them to play 33 minutes, again, just played Minnesota last night. It's one of those rare situations where they played each other. Again, he put up 62 fantasy points against this team just last night. If we can get 30 minutes out of Drummond, fire him up. 8,600 on DraftKings, 8,800 on FanDuel. It's hard not to like that tag, but it's trusting the minutes out of him, and then that's just tough because he's been all over the map in 24 up to 33 minutes. Sexton at 7K, 6,800 on FanDuel. Put up 19 fantasy points last night. He's just so much of a scorer. I don't like to play him very much. I'd rather look at Garland at 5,900, 5,300 on FanDuel. Really nice price tag on FanDuel. Put up 27 fantasy points last game, 27, 33, 26, 20. I love the price on FanDuel, though, at 5,300 for a guy that does a little bit more than just score. So I think you can look there. Jared Allen's 5,500 on DraftKings, 6K on FanDuel. Again, he's not really getting the minutes. It looked like Drummond, got the minutes last game. Could they flip this game? That's something to be a little cautious about. Drummond was a little easier to play last night because the main slate was only a 4-gamer, and you didn't really have to look anywhere off that. So I would look at their Drummond and Garland, I think, are the two guys that I'm really looking for in this game going up and back against Minnesota. In a spot, I think that they could still put up some points here. Let's head on over to Portland at Milwaukee. Milwaukee's favored by 9, 235 over under. On the Portland side, Derek Jones is out and Giannis is probable. On the Portland side, we all know CJ McCollum's been out, Nurkic is out. It's going to be all Dame Lillard here. He just gets all the usage in the world with no CJ McCollum. 10K, 10-7. The way you beat Milwaukee is by the 3, and Lillard has been extremely hot from the 3. He's been taking shots in stride from the stinking logo. It's been fun to watch, but if he's going to get there, it's going to have to be from his shooting because Milwaukee does not give up points in the paint. So I think you could play him. He averages 37 minutes a game. I think he can get there. I think I would rather go on the Giannis side, honestly, than I would paying for Lillard here. I think more so on FanDuel, I would play Lillard, but even on DraftKings, it's a little expensive. Tournaments only, but because he has big upside. Canner at 7,200. I don't really like this play against Milwaukee. He is 7K on FanDuel. I don't mind paying that price on FanDuel. On DraftKings, though, I think we usually can kind of find a few cheap centers to look at here. But if they're going to stay in this game, Canner's going to have a lot of putbacks, a lot of offensive rebounds, and that's just the way it's going to happen for him here. Trent Jr., 5,700 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel, seeing major minutes here. 34, 32, 28, his last 3. The minutes, 37, 38, 41. I think we're still going to see it with Jones Jr. out. So I think he's in play. I like him a little more on FanDuel, 5,500, but I think there's some meat left on the bone there. Robert Covington at 5K on DraftKings, 4,900 on FanDuel. He's going to play decent minutes, but again, going up against Milwaukee is not the best. I don't really like to attack those guys in the paint. They're going to have to hit their threes. Melo, 4,900 on DraftKings. Only put up 17 minutes in Chicago, 9 fantasy points. Tournament only here, just because we don't know. It looks like Gary Trent Jr. is the one that they're kind of rolling with here. If you want a tournament option, again, Anthony Simmons at 4,200 on DraftKings, 3,500 at FanDuel. Only put up 14 fantasy points, but he only shot 30% from the field that game. But before that, 25, 34, 23. At 4,200, you would take that if we don't have any like home run value. So one guy that we can kind of consider there is Anthony Simmons. Rodney Hood at 3,400 on DraftKings, 4K on FanDuel. I just can't trust him. Again, it's not the best matchup. With 3 balls falling, I guess, but I would rather take a shot on Anthony Simmons here. And that's about it. Like I said, nobody that I'm absolutely in love with at price. It would be a little bit of Trent Jr. and Lillard, but nobody that I'm clamoring to play here. On the Milwaukee side, like I said, Giannis is probable this game, so he should suit up here. If he didn't, though, it would be all the Middleton and all the Drew Holiday. Even Middleton at 8,500 on DraftKings, 7,900 on FanDuel is a steal for him. I think he's still in play on FanDuel at 7,900 if Giannis plays. Again, it's a great matchup against Portland. They don't play defense. Brook Lopez, 5,500 on DraftKings, 5,100 on FanDuel, 23, 21, 31. I think we could see a decent game out of him against Portland. Canner sucks playing defense. Bobby Portis is always a GPP special, 4,500 on DraftKings, 4,700 at FanDuel, 21, 11, 15, and 30. Again, if anytime he sniffs over 20 minutes, he's usually going to put up over 20 fantasy points. If he sniffs 25 minutes, he's going to break. He has a chance of breaking the slate. So someone you should always consider when you're building your tournament lineups is Bobby Portis. And especially against a Portland team that if their 3 ball's not following, it could get a little bit ugly. It may be somebody that you have to consider. Again, Drew Holiday, 7,700 on DraftKings, 7,500 on FanDuel. Fair price on both sides. I think he's very playable on both sides. But if all 3 are playing, it's just a tournament shot only here. I don't really like the price tag on DraftKings as much. They're all kind of priced up. So I don't think you have to go here on a 10-game slate. But again, great matchup against Portland. Set on over to Sacramento at the Pelicans. 233 over under. Pelicans favored by 3. It looks like for the Pelicans, Adams is questionable. Little note here, JJ Redick is actually a trade candidate. I know that they're trying to put him on the block. I know he's talking about, I was reading an article this morning, he was talking about the Knicks, trying to go to the Knicks. So we're not playing JJ Redick anyways, but that could just solidify the minutes for Alexander Walker. I think that's something that we have to consider is like, there's no reason for them to play JJ Redick if they are considering trading him. So I do like some Walker here. So on the Pelican side, like again, Ingram 8,200 on DraftKings, 8,000 on FanDuel. Very much in play against Sacramento here. Zion 8,300 on FanDuel, 7,900 on DraftKings. I like this play as well. He's been super consistent over 40 fantasy points, but we haven't seen a massive ceiling like 60. So I don't like playing him in tournaments because of that. But 41, 45, 42, 41, 33, 43, 40, 43. I mean, just he's putting up 40 fantasy points. And it's great on cash games, especially on FanDuel, 8,300. Love that on cash games. But again, the guy I talked about here, if they did put if they are putting JJ Redick, I don't think he's going to play any minutes. Again, he's on the trading block. Alexander Walker played 33 minutes against Houston, put up 37 fantasy points. This guy averages 0.96 fantasy points per minute. Now, he only averages 20 minutes for the season, but if Redick is on the chopping block, he's going to suck up Redick's minutes. And 33, 22, 30 minutes over his last 3. I think we're going to sneak up and see closer to the 30-minute mark. If you're going to give me this, FanDuel 4,700, again, 4,800 here. I'm going to throw him in this lineup just because I always like playing Nah, man. Nah's like one of my... I love how the kid plays. So really like that. Josh Hart should get some more minutes as well. He's maybe more of a tournament dart. 4,300 on DraftKings, 3,900 on FanDuel. Alexander Walker's the guy that I like more, though. I think that's the direction that they're going, honestly. And then, like I said, Steven Adams is questionable. If he were to sit, we're probably going to see maybe Hayes get the start, or maybe they move Zion down at the 5. But against Sacramento, I guess they could. They're just going up against Holmes. But we should probably see some Jackson Hayes. He is 4K on DraftKings, 3,600 on FanDuel. So we'll have to see what's going on there. And then Lonzo Ball, 5,500 on DraftKings. 5,700 on FanDuel. He's been playing pretty good over the last couple games. 30, 27, 25, 33. The minutes have kind of been all over the place, but he's just come back over the last couple games. I do like that price tag going up against Sacramento for Lonzo Ball. I'm going to shove him in this lineup real quick. Bledsoe 6K. I just rather pay down for Ball, but Bledsoe 5,600 on FanDuel is really nice. 27, 38, 32, 41. He's getting it done, and it's really hard to trust him. But up against Sacramento, really good tag, like I said, on FanDuel. I think a lot of these plays are cheap on FanDuel. You can look at playing 2 or 3 of these guys going up against Sacramento. It's a good game environment. It's a good total here. I think you're going to want a piece of this game on both sides of it. But I like Ball and Walker's price more so on DraftKings, where on FanDuel, I'm more like Zion, Walker, Ball, and Bledsoe, all 4 of those guys. You could throw in Ingram as well. I don't mind him. But I wouldn't play Ingram and Zion together at their price. On the Sacramento side, Bjelica is questionable. So that's one thing we got to just be considered on, but he hasn't played like any meaningful minutes in a long time. The big guy that's been doing really well for this team, that's been getting heavy minutes, is their rookie Halliburton. 5,200 on DraftKings, 5,500 or 5,400 on FanDuel. Been getting 30 minutes, 0.94 fantasy points per minute. In that second unit, 29, 30, 21, 36. The price tag is up, but he's only shot 40% from the field over the last 2 games and still put up 30 and 39 fantasy points. So that is really encouraging. What I like is the secondary stats you're getting out of him. 6 and 11 assists, 7 and 6 rebounds. So he's doing a little bit of everything, and that's what puts him squarely in play here. So I do love a little Halliburton today, and someone that I think you can consider in your lineups. If you want to play Halliburton over Alexander Walker, it might be the safer play, honestly. Walker, I do love his upside, I think, more. But Halliburton is probably the safer play here out of the 2. So I'm just going to take him out of here, Alexander Walker, and I'm going to throw Halliburton in this lineup. Just because I feel like he's a little safer, getting a little run back from Ball. I do kind of like that. Like I said, I don't mind here taking Russell out if we wanted to and throwing Alexander Walker here. I don't mind running multiple of these guys. So we're going to do that in this lineup as we're building through things. Again, on the Sacramento side, Fox, 8,300 on DraftKings, 8,200 on FanDuel. Again, no problem playing him on either site. There is upside here. I like playing games against teams that are paced up here. Put up a good game against Miami, 26 shots, massive shots, 47, 32, 44, 81. We know we've seen like a 70 burger out of him this year, so there is a massive ceiling. You're not going to see that this game, but the guy you should consider, but is priced up towards his ceiling. But there is a little meat left on a bone in good game environments like this. Rashawn Holmes, 6,400 on DraftKings, 6,800 on FanDuel. I think I like the more Steven Adams is out just because of that. Steven Adams is a good defender, and Rashawn Holmes loves getting to the rim, and I think he'll be a lot easier time against Jackson Hayes, which is kind of a toothpick. So I like Holmes a little bit more here on both sites if Steven Adams does sit. Marvin Bagley, 5,900 on FanDuel, 5,900 on DraftKings. I can't play that on this slate this size. I just really like Halliburton. It's probably my favorite play on both sides. Buddy Hield, 6,500 on DraftKings, 6,400 on FanDuel. A guy that needs a shot to fall, but been pretty consistent the last 4 games. 35, 34, 50, 24 fantasy points. Halliburton, has more peripherals, which is nice, than Buddy. Buddy's more of a shooter. He needs his points to fall. But you can consider him at price. I have no problem. Like I said, I think this is a game you're going to want to take at least 2 from, and up to 4, I think is fine at price. So this is a game that I will be targeting heavy, just looking at the price tags on these guys, the game environment that we have. I do like this game. Let's move on to the next game here. We got 4 more. Houston at OKC. This game is sitting at a 224 over under. Houston favored by 5. Looks like David Nwaba is out. George Hill is out. Ty Jerome's out. He hasn't played anything forever. Let's start on the Houston side here. We know Nwaba's out. Wood is expensive. He is up to 8,900 on DraftKings, 8,900 on FanDuel, and playing tournaments for sure. No problem playing him, especially on FanDuel. I think we went through Randall was 8,800. I think against OKC, I don't mind playing both together. I might lean to Wood, but again, Randall and Wood, boy, that's a heck of a combo at your power forward position. Victor Oladipo, 8,200 on DraftKings, 8,200 on FanDuel, 8K on DraftKings. Again, priced up. I don't think there's a ton of meat left on the bone there. I don't really love it for both sides. John Wall, though, 6,900 on DraftKings, 7,200 on FanDuel, 36, 37, 35 over his last 3 games. Minutes, though, 26, 30, 24. They beat Pelicans in double digits that last game. I think we could see closer to more of the 30-minute mark. And he's been a 1.10 fantasy point per minute this year. In 30 minutes, he could get close to value. I like playing guys that are going to play 35, 36 minutes in my cash games, but at that price, I would consider him, but nobody that I'm just clamoring to play. I think on FanDuel at 7,200 makes a really interesting case, though, at that point guard position, but a guy we could look at a little bit. Eric Gordon, 4,900 on FanDuel, 5,600 on DraftKings. 21, 15, 30. He's just hard going to find shots. I mean, when Depot, Wall, and Wood, their big three, are playing, they're going to have a hard time finding shots. So really, really tough there. DeMarcus Cousins finally came down in price, but the minutes are definitely not going to be there. 5,500 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DraftKings, 9 and 17. As you see, the minutes, look at the minutes in the production Wood's not playing. 33 and 50, 30 and 58. When Wood is playing, 14 minutes, 9 fantasy points, 11 minutes, 17 fantasy points. He is just to the bench. Even at this price point, I don't think he is in play here. And that's about it on the slate this size. I just think you're looking at Wall as the main guy I'm looking at, and then Wood on FanDuel or DraftKings. I have no problem paying for him. Let's look at OKC. Alexander Walker, 8,100 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, 8,300. Again, going up against Houston. I like playing guys like this that get up and down. No problem playing him on both. I don't think I'm going to get there on DraftKings, though, because as you can see this build, we have a lot of cheap guards in this 55 to 6,500 range that I would rather play that have 40-point upside, where Alexander Walker has upside, but not as much as those guys. Al Horford's been shooting well since coming back. Congratulations to him with his wife giving birth, and that's why he was out for a while. 6,300 on FanDuel, 6,100 on DraftKings, 37-49. The last 2 games are coming back after that little parental leave. The shots have been up. He's been really active. So I don't mind taking a shot at a 6,100 and 6,300 Al Horford, just what he's been doing. Baisley, 5,100 on DraftKings, 5,100 on FanDuel. No problem going here as well against Houston. 30, 20, 31, 24 over his last 4. But we know the minutes are going to be decent there. So I do like that tag on him. With George Hill out, Maledon should start again. 4,300 on FanDuel. He is 4,300 on DraftKings. The last 2 games that he has started, 33 and 30 minutes, 36 fantasy points and 24. I really like this kid, and this is why I don't like playing a lot of the expensive guards today, because as you can see, we got both Ball brothers in here, Alexander Walker, Halliburton, Maledon. I love all these cheap guards. Like, the more we're going through this, the more I'm like, there's just so many stinking cheap guards that I think that's going to be the approach for me today, is rotating a lot of these cheap guards through after figuring out which ones that I want. But there's a bunch of them over here on DraftKings, and this might be a night that I might go 1 center and play 4 guards. Just so many of them that have 40-point upside that are in that 4 to 6K range. It's pretty crazy. So really like his tag over there. I don't think I'm going to go anywhere else here. Dort is at 4,200 and 4,400. The minutes are there. So if you want to take a stab at him, put up 13 fantasy points, shot 14%. Stop shooting threes, Dort. 1 for 9. He always tilts me. The guy built like a linebacker. Go the damn hole, man. Take that ball to the rack, especially against Houston. Diallo, again, tournaments. So me, it's just Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Al Horford, Baisley, but Maledon is my favorite price point, points per dollar play on both sides here. So that's the guy I'm going to be focusing on. Let's head on over to Phoenix at Dallas. We have a 217.5 over under. Dallas favored by 2.5. They have been a hot, steaming pile of garbage for a while. Looks like Saric is still out. Cameron Payne is still out. Porzingis is probable. He should play. He just sat last game because of a back-to-back. Kleba is probable as well. So He just rested. On the Phoenix side again, Damian Jones again is play, and then Devin Booker's the big one that's questionable. If he sits, Chris Paul again, a guy that we got to look at here on this slate. He is 7,800 on FanDuel, 8,200 on DraftKings. If Booker's back, though, I don't like that tag on Paul. It's an easy fade for me. The shots won't be there for him to get the value. Booker at 8,300 just coming back. I don't like that at all either. Ayton at 8,300 for DeAndre Ayton and 8K on DraftKings. Dallas sucks and against the bigs. As you can see, 39 minutes against Dallas, put up 47 fantasy points for an 18 and 17 clip. So even with Porzingis back, they just bleed points to the bigs. And he's a guy that I would consider playing if I'm going to play anyone from this team. But I'm not going to look at a lot of these guys here. You know, maybe Cam Johnson on FanDuel at 4,400. He's 5,300 on DraftKings, so nobody that I'd want to play. You know, the minutes are going to be there. But if Booker comes back, less shots for everybody. But again, on a slate this large, I think it's Ayton on this team and move on. You know, and if Chris Paul is in play as well, if we do get news that Booker does sit. On the Dallas side, again, hot steaming pile of garbage, man. They just been horrible. These teams just played a couple days ago. Luka at 10-8, 49, 45, 40, 45. Just hasn't been getting it done. And we know there's massive upside here. So he's definitely playing tournaments all day long at this price tag. Porzingis is 7K on FanDuel, 7,600 on DraftKings. I think they need to lean on him a little bit more and say, hey, man, if we're going to start winning games, you got to play some defense and make some shots. So 22, 29, 28, and 40. It's hard to trust the guy at all. Just tournament options only for me. But I like that tag on FanDuel specifically at 7K at the power forward position. Josh Richardson's interesting. 3,800 on FanDuel. 4K on DraftKings. 15, 13, 10 over his last 3 games. Just not getting it done at all. But he's a cheap tag. And so I think you got to consider him. Just at that tag, but knowing that that I love it all. Like I said, Kleba should be back here. And Kleba back running that center position. You know, I don't know how many minutes he's going to see. He hasn't played since the 9th of January, but, you know, Carlisle said he'll be back. You know, if he can put up, if he comes back and plays 25 minutes, maybe he's someone that we can consider playing, but I just don't know the minutes that he's going to get. So it's just a tournament option only for me. Finney Smith at 4,100 on DraftKings, 3,900 at FanDuel. I think he's an interesting play as well. Just tournaments. This team's just been so bad, it's hard to trust any of them, really. And if Porzingis comes back, all these secondary and tertiary plays are just not going to have a ton of usage. They're going to have to get there in other ways. Like Brunson at 4,200 on DraftKings, 4K on FanDuel. They just haven't been really getting it done. They're all cheap. One of them could, but it's hard to trust which ones can. And if Kleba comes back, it just kind of muddle up that situation a little bit more. So I think you're just playing Luka in tournaments on DraftKings, and then over on FanDuel, Luka and Porzingis over there on in tournaments as well. And then maybe take a shot at a Richardson or a Finney Smith at price on FanDuel. Let's head over to Memphis at the Spurs. 220 over under. San Antonio favored by 4. I just have flashbacks from 2 days ago where I missed my prop bet on Ja Morant by 1.5 points. But I love that kid. So much fun to watch. So good for the league. Loves to play ball. But with that, Joe Val is out for Memphis. Grayson Allen is out. Jaren Jackson's been out forever. So the Memphis still kind of shorthanded here. But again, we just saw this team play. Alexander Tillman, power forward center. I think we're going to load up, play him again on this slate. If we go over, look on FanDuel, he is priced at 5,100. So a little bit, priced up there, but definitely in play. But 4,800 for the starting center here against the Spurs. Only played 21 minutes, but put up 24 fantasy points. So I think he's a guy, a rookie that we can look at playing on both sites at 4,800. Again, he should play closer to 28 to 30 minutes here, but we could definitely consider him. Slow-mo Kyle Anderson, 5,800 on DraftKings, 5,800 on FanDuel. I hate playing this guy, but 29, 29, 34 over his last 3. I don't like that tag at all. Brandon Clark at 6,200 on DraftKings, 6,400 on FanDuel. He's going to be playing pretty decent minutes here. 25, 31, 34, and 40. Again, only played 26 minutes against the Spurs, so didn't play heavy minutes here. But a guy I think that we can consider playing. I'm just going to throw him in this lineup, this other forward position. Not sure on DraftKings I'll play them both together. Maybe I'll just play one. But just kind of showing you how a lineup construction could come together a little bit. John Morant, 7,600 on DraftKings, 7,800 on FanDuel. Getting a little priced up on FanDuel, but on DraftKings is 7,600. Again, these guards like that are not, I have a hard time paying more than John Morant for the guards on DraftKings. Just going through all this, it is really hard. So yeah, John Morant, 7,600, very much in play here. Put up 37 fantasy points against the Spurs on the 30th. Had a monster game against them when they first came out. Put up like 60 the first game they played back when the season opened up. Dang, the gorgeous Dong, 4,700 on DraftKings, 4,600 on FanDuel. Going to play some backup center minutes. Not so excited about that. Dylan Brooks can always get hot, 5,100 on FanDuel, 5,700 on DraftKings. I think I prefer that play on FanDuel at price. But I think I'm looking at Tillman, Clark, and Morant as the guys I'm really focusing on. Everybody else is just kind of tournament plays. Not going to get too excited about those guys. On the Spurs, DeMar DeRozan, 7K. Again, they're still priced way down here. Now, this is 3 and 4, but they did have a day off. So, but the big thing is we do have Derek White in the rotation. And Derek White's going to take some minutes away from DeRozan. But DeRozan's always in play here. Watching that game, I think it was Dylan Brooks. I want to say DeMar DeRozan had a putback against him and then kind of stared him down and like bumped his chest. It was kind of awkward the way he did it. Like, I don't know what was going on there. But 7K, again, put up 25 minutes and a big stinker against Memphis here at 7 fantasy points. I love taking guys like him in tournaments. I would never play him in cash with how many guards are back. But I think you can consider him in tournaments because he is a small forward, power forward on DraftKings, which makes him more viable to play. So tournaments only here. But again, when guys put up a bad game like that, I like going back to them in tournaments because they will have a lot less ownership. DeJounte Murray, 6,600 on DraftKings, 6,900 on FanDuel. A guy that I think we can consider on both sites. 34, 40, 20, 32, 46 over his last 4, averaging 1.11 fantasy points per minute. If we're going to get over 30 minutes from him, I have no problem playing him in this game environment against Memphis. Definitely no problem there. LaMarcus Aldridge, 5,500 on DraftKings, 5,600 on FanDuel. Put up 26 fantasy points in 26 minutes. The minutes, though, haven't been there for LMA, and that's why he's priced like that, so he's hard to trust. Derek White played 22 minutes in his first game back. 27 fantasy points. A great price on him on both sides. 4,600 and 5,500. Love this tag for tournaments. No problem playing him. Again, these guards, man, I go over and over. These guards are cheap here. So there's a lot of meat left on the bone for guards. So again, I think this is a 4-guard day, man. As we're going through this on DraftKings, I'm going to build a lot of my lineups, these 4 guards. Patty Mills at 4K on FanDuel. Over here on DraftKings is priced up to 4,700. I prefer Derek White all day long. Lonnie Walker at 4,300 on DraftKings, 4K on FanDuel. Played 25 minutes, 25 fantasy points, 12-5-1 with the block and a steal. Again, I think more of a FanDuel play because he's shooting guard eligible over there. And DraftKings, I'd just rather go up to White than play Walker. So again, DeMar DeRozan tournaments only. Murray's your cash guy if you're looking for a guy here, and then White. I want the guards. I don't really want the bigs on the Spurs side, but good game environment. Someone I think you're going to want maybe 1 or 2 pieces of this in your game, probably at least 1, but probably 2 on either side of it. It's just a great game to attack on the DFS purposes. Heading over to the last game of the night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We don't have a late game, which is nice. Detroit at Denver. Denver favored by 8.5, a 218 over/under. PJ Dozier is still out for Denver. Gary Harris is questionable for Denver as well. On the Detroit side, Jeremy Grant, 7,800 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he's priced at 7,500. So price down. I kind of like the tag on Grant on FanDuel. But the last 2 games kind of struggled, 22-27, 34, 48 against Philly. We know there's upside there. I prefer him on FanDuel where he's priced down than I do DraftKings. Mason Plumlee at 5,300 on DraftKings, 5,100 on FanDuel. Maybe get a little revenge at Mason Plumlee. 12 points, but before that, 36, 34, 24. They're going to need him up against the Joker. He's played enough against him probably in practice when he was with Denver that, he knows how to defend him. So I don't mind that price tag on Plumlee. Maybe he's a pivot off of Zeller, or maybe if you want to go two centers, you can look at a Plumlee Zeller build, but I still prefer the guards, man. It's weird on a 10-game slate, but there's just way too many guards on this slate. Blake Griffin at 5,900 and 5,400 respectively. Can't trust him. He's only been a 0.83 fantasy points per minute this season. Nobody that I really want to spend my money on, even though at that price tag. DeLon Wright, 5,800 on FanDuel, 6,100 on DraftKings. Again, there's better guards to play at here. I don't think I'm going to focus too much here on the Detroit side at all. So like I said, maybe a little bit of Mason Plumlee and Jeremy Grant on FanDuel and Mason Plumlee on DraftKings, and that is about it for me. I don't see the reason on a slate this big to be investing too much money on this side. So again, they can play a bunch of people. No, thank you. On the Denver side, again, we said Gary Harris is questionable. Questionable. Let me refresh here just to make sure I have the latest news. Make sure that he didn't change status. Still just questionable. If he doesn't play, though, we should see some more. Maybe Will Barton coming to play here. Monte Morris. Will Barton is 4,800 on DraftKings, 4,800 on FanDuel. Put up 35 and 37 minutes. Again, I think he is a very interesting piece, and I love him that we can play him as small forward over here on DraftKings. If we don't have any Gary Harris, I think those minutes will pick up a little bit. Jamal Murray, 7,200 on FanDuel, 7,200 on DraftKings. Very much in play. Again, these cheap guards, there's a ton of them. And Jokic at 10-9. If we're going to take a chance on an expensive center and run two centers, maybe run Zeller and Jokic. Jokic put up a monster game last night. Or against, it was during the day, I guess, but it was yesterday. 77 fantasy points, 37 minutes, shot 17 for 26, 77 fantasy points, 47 to 5 and 12. I'm sure he's going to be pretty popular on the slate. Going up against Detroit, not worried about that at all. 1.62 fantasy points per minute, averaging 36 minutes a game, 30% usage. So if you decided to say, hey, okay, well, I don't want to play this ball, maybe I'll throw Jokic in here. In this lineup and I want to play the safer route and play two centers, Zeller and Jokic. Or maybe I don't want to play Zeller at all. Maybe I just want to play Jokic here, not play Zeller, and then play those four guards. I'm fine with that. You still have 6,300 in this lineup we're kind of putting together. Looking here. Michael Porter Jr., 6,500 on DraftKings, 6,500 on FanDuel. Again, only 16 fantasy points. I mentioned this on yesterday's pod. I don't play them guys together when they're up like this. I think if Jokic is going to have a monster game, Porter's not going to have a monster game. This would be one of the rules I would make at their current prices. I don't think they're both going to break the slate for you, so I would make a rule where I don't have one or the other in my lineups. But again, like I said, if we don't have any Gary Harris, Morris is interesting at 3,800, 20 fantasy points in 26 minutes. I don't think you need to go there, though. There's a lot of 4K guards that have more upside than him, but a guy that you can consider. And then Will Barton, like I said, that would be the other guy. So it's the same kind of guys, Jokic, Murray, Michael Porter Jr., if you're not playing Jokic, again, don't play them together, and Will Barton on a slate this large. That's where I look. Maybe Monte Morris on DraftKings if you need the savings, but I don't think you will. So that's kind of how I am considering this slate. So with that, I hope that you enjoyed this 10-game breakdown for Monday night, February 1st. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button for me, hit the subscribe button, turn that notification bell so you know when I go live, and be on the lookout today. I'm going to start looking at prop bets. I'm going to put up another prop bet. We did lose 2 units, I think it was 2 days ago, and I will show that. We're going to have good days and bad days, but we're still up 16 units over the last 5 or 6 days, so we're still on a hell of a run, and I'm going to find some good ones for us today and throw that out. And then Prize Picks video, that is going to come out again today as well. I'm going to look and find the over-unders on Prize Picks that I like. And then if you want to see something else, another video, let me know in the comment section. Maybe I'll do another NBA Super Draft video, or maybe there's something else you want to see. I'm here to provide value for you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you that take the time to listen. And with that, I'm Cash K. Deuces.